Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Cup Counseling today. Hope everybody's doing really, really well. So today we have myself, John, and Phil are going to be offering you guys a little bit of information about us, kind of get to know who we are, what
we're gonna find out the dirt.
Exactly. Oh. Yeah, it may or may not be good. So we'll see.
This will take all day on some of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one thing that listeners may not know is we are actually in three very different locations.
Yeah.
I think I'm here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Lori?
Yes, I am in between Charlottesville and Richmond, Virginia.
John,
you guys aren't too far away from each other. Like, how far is that?
About 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in another state altogether. I'm in North Carolina, Raleigh area right now, but it's hot right? It's 86 where I'm at. You guys are
we're in the low 90s.
Yeah,
it's a little bit warm. It is warm, and a little bit about Phil. He doesn't do well in the heat. I am not a heat kind of a guy. There is no worse thing for somebody to say to me then is, hey, would you like to go hang out on the beach with us this summer?
Come on, man.
That's the best thing ever.
Oh, I melt. I got SPS 1000. I got my arms covered. I'm in an umbrella. I got a towel around my head. There's no skin showing except for what you can see through the towel through my eye. I am just this fair-skinned redhead guy just does not handle the beach well at all.
Wow.
And the places the sand can find to hide on.
Okay.
Awful. I look like breaded chicken when I leave. It's awful.
So no beach trips for Phil. None.
And John, you're from central north. You're from Minnesota, is that right?
I am originally from Minnesota. Grew up in Duluth. Lake Superior comes to a little point on its west side, and that's where Duluth is. And it was freezing cold up there growing up. Lots of snow, lots of fishing, lots of hockey. Sure.
Oh yeah. Do you fish still? Do you still fish?
Yeah.
You fish?
No, I don't get to fish very much. We do this thing called ice fishing a lot. That was pretty interesting, pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool. Do you drill the hole in the ice?
Drill a hole in the ice with the old auger. So nowadays it's very different because they are ice fishermen go into this big tent. They have heaters in them. They have refrigeraters. They're sitting in a lot of times.
Back when you were a kid, tell us about.
Yeah, I'm about to give you back in my day. Back in my day, you'd carry out a bucket, a hand auger, sit out in the middle of like 20. And when I say 20 below zero, that's not exaggerating. 20 below zero, wind sweeping across there, walking up that hill to the lake both ways uphill. And you drill that hole in the ice, sit on that bucket, and but it was lovely. Catch some fish. They'd already be frozen for the freezer and bring them on home. Walleye. Have you ever had walleye before?
Oh, sure.
Best fish of all time eating walleye. But
Lori, did you grow up fishing? Lori, were you a fisher when you grew up? Did you grow up fishing?
Not very often. I did go fishing as a kid. But it wasn't frequent. I like to fish now, and I think I like to fish now because my kids love to fish. So it's so fun watching them really be patient because my kids have no patience whatsoever. So it's really cool to sit there and watch them be very patient, waiting for that fish to come out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. Now, did you grow up? Was it Tennessee?
No, I am born and raised in Virginia.
Okay.
But it was down near Tennessee, literally across the border from Tennessee.
Okay.
Where did you grow up, Philly?
I grew up in Ohio, southwestern Ohio, in a kind of a big city called Dayton, Ohio. Born in the same house, lived in that house all my life. And the summer that my wife and I got married, they sold the house. So that was the house that I grew up in, the only house I knew. And then after I got married, I think they really were just trying to make sure I didn't ever move back. I think that was a plan that my parents had. So, and they still live in Dayton, Ohio to this day. And I try to get back whenever I can. But so we're kind of spread out here, here a little bit. Well, John, you're a licensed clinical social worker.
I am.
How did you get into that? What made you want to go down that avenue? Is that where you thought you were going to be when you were?
No. So, my life was a little bit of a mess coming up into high school. Didn't know what I want to do with my life. In fact, I was barely passing in high school. I played football, and that was kind of my focus. Really had zero interest in going to college, but possibly wanted to play football in college. My grades just weren't what they needed to be. When I graduated high school, I started drinking pretty heavily. I would say I'm pretty close to a full-blown alcoholic by the time I was 21 years old. And then I had this really incredible experience turning my life over to Jesus Christ. I would say delivered from alcoholism. And that doesn't happen with everybody. But from that point on, I was kind of a different person. In my early 20s, I just finally decided I was going to try to take a shot at college. Ended up going to Evangel University in Missouri. Played football down there. That helped me pay for school. And I was a criminal justice major, of all things.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it might be a police officer. But my wife told me we got married my senior year, and I'm almost done with my degree. And my wife is like, I don't know that I can be the wife of a police officer. I said, well, that would have been good to know a little earlier.
On the third or fourth date.
Yeah.
And so true story. I was at a juvenile justice internship my last year of college, and that was part of my criminal justice major. And I was struggling in that internship. Again, my grades were pretty bad, and I'm trying to do anything I could to get extra credit in my internship. And they told me that there was this one thing in the internship at that juvenile justice center that nobody wanted to do. And if I volunteered for that, it would help my grades. So I said, sure. And it was escorting adolescent sex offenders to a support group, and then sitting in that support group and kind of keeping my eye on them. And so these are adolescent, like teenager, 14 to 17-year-old kids who are in prison for sexual crimes against younger children. So pretty awful, severe thing. That's why nobody wanted to really work with them. And so I volunteered for that, started escorting these prisoners to the support group. And the first time I went to that support group, the therapist who was in there, I watched the way that he treated these individuals, these young people who had made such horrible errors that ruined their lives, that were throwaways. All of them were throwaways. And the way that he loved them, the way that he respected them, the way that he held them accountable, the way that he worked with them. I watched him do group therapy, and I said, that's what I want to do. That's it. I knew it. Wow. That I wanted to be a part of helping people who couldn't help themselves, who were throwaways, who had made horrible choices. And so that was kind of the beginning of me going into social work, and eventually got my master's and did a bunch of stuff. But that was it, man. It just clicked for me at that point. That was my calling.
That's a great story.
That is.
It's funny from where you start. So from where you started to where you're at now, could anybody have seen that in your life when you were 10, 12, 14 years old?
Right. No. And I think that's what I thought maybe we kind of the conversation we have is I really think that's how life sort of works for a lot of us, is the thing that you think, you're growing up thinking I'm going to be this and do this. Lisa TerKeurst has a book. with this idea that it's not supposed to be this way, like this is not what I thought would happen. And I think that's a lot of our lives, isn't it? That probably the two of you, like, this is not necessarily what I would have imagined my life to be like, but that's how it ends up. I mean, I don't know about you, Phil. Is this working for the AACC, being part of this mental health coaching ministry? Was this anywhere on your radar 10, 20, 50, 50 years ago?
Well, as you were sharing, it's kind of funny. My background, when I was 13, 14, 15, I wanted to be a police officer.
Did you really?
I wanted to be a police officer. But there was a gentleman in my church. His name was Jerry. He was a police officer in Dayton, and he knew it because I was in the youth group. He knew I had a bent towards that, and he befriended me, but he basically told me, "Don't do it.
Really?
Don't do it. Just don't do it." And I was always able to take advice. I always felt like growing up, I felt like I could take advice. And so that just kind of steered me off of it. And really enjoyed at that time my church youth group a lot. So I thought I would definitely, and I enjoyed the outdoors. So when I went to college, I went for a youth ministry degree, and I was going to double in youth and recreation, because there's nothing I like more than recreation. Took a lot of those courses, and then the school, Liberty, they closed down recreation as a major because I really wanted to be a camp director. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to start a camp for teenagers with all the ropes course. If it was outdoor recreation, I was all in. Hiking the Appalachian Trail back in those days, and just loved the rafting and rock climbing and all that great stuff. I really wanted to be a camp director, but that door got shut when the course was shut down at Liberty. So I stayed with youth ministry and did that. When I got out of Liberty, went straight into youth ministry, working with several different churches. Went on to go back to seminary and did that. And as soon as I was done with seminary, this is where it all turns left. I was done. I didn't want to do that. I was like, I did not feel called to be a preacher or to lead a church. Almost kind of like.
Did you feel that way before, though? You had that feeling like that's what you're supposed to be doing before?
I wanted the education. The education, and I thought with the education would come. I could drive this with my mind, if you will. I could, and really and truly getting burnt out on youth ministry, churches in general a little bit. So I back to school, became a financial advisor. Got all my series licenses, and had my own office, had my own practice. I had my own offices set up, and through a unique set of circumstances, survived the 2008 crash and the 2010 tighten button down on the regulations. But then the church, John, that Temple City Church now, they called me up and said, we're growing exponentially. We need somebody who can be kind of organized and kind of run the business of the church. And took some advice from some people saying, I thought maybe I could do both. I'll keep up my practice, my financial practice, and then I'll work. But I just decided to commit. I'm going to put my hands to the plow. God, I'm going to go back. I'll do this. And so I did. I sold the practice and went to work at the church, and left the church a couple of years later. Ended up really getting fired, which was really humbling.
I didn't do it.
No, that's right. It wasn't John. John didn't do it. But it was really humbling, and just thought I would rethink my life. And then here I've ended up at the AACC. But in the process of leaving the church and here at AACC, I met Lori Shepard, who we worked together for a while at a construction company, and just had a good partner, even though you could probably count on one hand, Lori, how many times we ever really saw each other.
Oh gosh, in 5 years, probably four, five times, yes. Maybe.
Never saw each other, just on the phone, getting things taken care of. She ran a real tight office, and when I came to the AACC, they said, you need to hire somebody to help you. I know who that is. I know who that is. And so glad that Lori had jumped the ship and had come over here. And we have talked about it a few times, haven't we, Lori? We've shared a few times, like what an amazing difference that industry is from where we were and to where we're at now. Just how much we enjoy working with coaches and the team here at ACC. And so, no, I did not ever expect to be here. God, it's one of those things where we always say, God, if you'll just tell me your plan. This is my opinion or my experience. I'd say, God, if you'll just tell me what you want me to do, I'll go do it. Just spell it out, write it in the dirt, write it in the sky. I'll go do it. And it's like, if you knew what God had in store for you, you would run 180 degrees in the other direction. And I think God knows that about me for sure. And just says, no, we're going to give it to you a drip at a time, Phil, because you're not going to believe it if you see it, but it's going to be amazing. But
that's really cool.
And Lori, you didn't have you don't really have a church ministry background, not involved in working in the church.
I do not. So, right now you might want to sit down, get your popcorn, your coffee, because it's kind of going from point A to point O to point B to point Z, so it's interesting to look back to see the path to where I am now. So I grew up in the church. I grew up with, it was just me and my mom, and my grandparents took me to church every Sunday. We were in the true Southern Baptist church. So as a kid, I was given the big bag of candy and the coloring books, and I sat on the pew and didn't understand a word that was going on because I just, it wasn't designed really for kids. So that's how my experience was. So I kind of got out of that path when I got a little older. But in high school, my goal, so journalism was my absolute favorite course in high school. So I decided I wanted to go to ETSU and I wanted to major in communications. So I wanted to be a meteorologist. I'm like, I want to do the weather.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
I don't think I knew that.
Show me like one of these, like
today.
You are pretty
beautiful.
Yeah, you've got that down. You've got that
beautiful.
down.
I would watch I'd watch it. I'd watch the weather.
So that's what I wanted to do, which is really cool because my daughter doesn't know that. And now that's what she wants to do. She wants to be a storm chaser. So I was like, you got to go through, all of those classes first. But anyways, so I wanted to do meteorology. I was like, this is really cool. I want to do weather. And I got married really young. So I met my husband really young. And it was like, this is the best thing under the sun. And of course, I had no idea what was planned for me. We got married right out of high school. And fortunately, this year will be 29 years. We've been married 29 years. So yay. And in the meantime, I decided to change. Of course, I got married. We bought our first house, and I didn't have time to go to school because we had no money and we needed to work. And so I didn't have any time to go to school. So after we got settled a few years, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school. And at that time I was in retail management. So I'm thinking I'm going to go back to school for business management. Well, I did that for about 2 years, working 40 to 50 hours a week, going to school. It got old really fast because I was like, I don't have time. My schedule's crazy. I'm already doing what I'm going to school for. So I'm going to save the money and I'm just going to continue doing my job. So that's what I did for many, many years. I was either branch manager or I was a district manager. So that's kind of where my path took me. I always thought I would be in some type of business management. That's just what I thought. I was like, okay, this is what's planned for me. But I always had a passion for helping people. I always love to talk to people. People come to me all the time and want to have a conversation because I really listen to what they're saying. And I was like, I need to help people in a different way than managing their money. I'm like, I need something a little deeper than that. So I decided I'm going to go into nursing. I want to be a registered nurse. I want to help people. Okay. So I'm talking about literally A to M.
Yeah.
So I started volunteering in Lynchburg, in the local ER. I will say really fast, I knew instantly that was not what I wanted to do. So once I got in there, I was like, this is not cut out for me. I cannot handle this. So, business management, here we go. And so then decided to, my husband and I, we had our first child. I was fortunate to be stay-at-home mom for about 10 years, had my second child. And, they were both in school. It was getting time. I'm thinking, I have to be around people. I need to talk to people. I need to be interactive. Being home all the time while they're in school, it was not good. That's just not for me. So I was introduced to the construction company that Phil worked out through my best friend. She worked there, and she's like, I think we just want somebody just to come in part-time. You can do it from home. It'll give you something to do. I can handle that. That's great. I can handle that. Phil, you can attest to how well we handle that. I started 20 hours a week for the first 2 months.
Yeah,
maybe.
They found out real quick how capable she was, and they put her to work. She climbed it immediately.
So within a year and a half, I guess. Yeah, probably about a year and a half. I was the vice president for the company.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So Phil had gotten this amazing offer at AACC. He came, he's like, Lori, he's like, I'm headed out. I'm going to AACC. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Well, congratulations. Good luck. I'll probably never speak to you again, but enjoy, have fun, just because we'd never crossed paths. And literally 2 weeks later, Lori, I've got a question for you. And so, so that's kind of how it started. And I never would have imagined that I would have been here at AACC working with mental health coaches and doing what we do. I am so ecstatic for the opportunity that I've been given to work here and with the people that I get to work with in the office and our coaches every single day. I'm just completely elated. It's night and day. Yes.
John, one of her projects that she took on, I don't know if people listening know this, but we have a mental health coach Facebook page. And if you've taken the mental health coach course, we have a Facebook page, a group, that we allow people to join if they've taken the course or taking it. And I think it's in 13 months, Lori watches over it and answers questions and stays involved. In 13 months, she got 8,000 people to sign up. 8,000 people to sign that Facebook group. And they love her more than they do me. And I struggle with it, but that's okay.
You got a group for that, buddy.
I need that group.
I can help you with that.
So very, very, very capable. So that was, I was so glad that she was able to come. And then when they said, now, Phil, you need to find some people that can really understand what mental health coaches go through. I know a guy who knows exactly what mental health coaches go through and what they're doing, and was so glad to connect back with John.
Yeah.
John and I have been, we've been friends for, 8 or 9 years, I guess. And it has, so it's really great, guys, to be working with your friends. It really is great to be working with friends and people who you love and respect, and it has just been fantastic. So, Lori, where did Brad think? I want to go back. I'm going to ask you the same thing, John. What did Brad think you were going to do when you got married? What did he think? Oh, this is
probably scared. No, I'm just kidding. What did he think I was going to do?
Yeah, what did he think you were going to do? What did he say? Okay, Lori's definitely going to be doing this.
So that's funny you asked, because I have an exact answer for that.
Okay.
We've discussed this multiple times over our time. So when Brad and I got married, we moved to Lynchburg. That was our first real home outside of home. And I was so excited to get my first ever part-time seasonal helper at Hex department store, which is now Macy's. Everybody knows that they switched. So I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, because growing up in such a little tiny country town, we had to travel an hour and a half to get to a mall, really, to see stores that were bigger. And so, but when we came to Lynchburg, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. I'm going to be I came home from my interview, told Brad, I was like, I am so excited because I got a part-time job. And he's like, okay, great. So as I was in that role, it was the same thing. I loved what I did because I love working with all the customers. Like, I loved working with the people. It was so fun to me. But so then I moved up to management training. Then I went into departmental training, and then I became a senior manager for the store. And so my next move was they wanted to move me to a different location to keep training, but I couldn't, because we weren't based on my salary. So, I couldn't just pick up and move to a whole other city to do that. And that was a decision we made together, but he always thought I was going to be in some type of retail business. I did get out of retail and go into banking, but, he thought that whatever business management, no matter where it was, that was going to be my ultimate landing place.
Well, okay, then, so John, what did Janine think you were going to do? I know you told her you were going to be a police officer, and she waited till you were dating for a while, it sounds like, before she told you that didn't sound like a good idea to her.
Oh, she waited till we were married.
Oh, wait.
She did tell me that one. No, I think when you talk about young people and what they think is going to happen, what their plans are, I think we had all kinds of thoughts and dreams and ideas, but they weren't really based on career. I think they were more based on where we wanted to live, being around family. She wanted to be around her family, and that was in Delaware. And so she was spending a lot of time talking to her dad, and her dad and mom were working. I mean, working to get me a job up there. And so that was the whole the Menzie strategy of
That's funny.
You say codependency, what does God and a codependent have in common? They both have a plan for your life. And these people had a plan for my life.
They had a plan for you.
I was powerless. So she and her family got me up to Delaware, working for the state of Delaware as a division family service worker. So I was in child protective work early on in the treatment end of it, which was really exciting and horrifying and scary and very sad and rewarding at the same time. And it shaped what I was doing. But Janine was more interested, I think, in just trying to be around family, which I now value very much with 4 daughters of my own. I want them home. I want them near us. I think grandkids aren't too far on the horizon. Love to have grandkids near me and those things. So now I've got to manipulate somehow my children to come convince.
Exactly. Absolutely. I told my kids they can live with us forever. I'm good with that.
Got a big basement.
Yeah.
How about you, Phil? What about Pam? Did Pam?
Yeah.
Right. Pam had her own designs.
Pam's had her plan for me from date one. I haven't been in control ever since. Her father is a builder, and so I like that stuff. That really There was even a time in my life when I was younger that I liked cabinet work. I liked that stuff. So I thought, I didn't mind building, but I had the best father-in-law in the world. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And so whenever I would help him on a project, if he was framing a house or if he had work going on, and he would invite me to come along and work a Saturday or a Sunday, just get some extra time in to try to make a few dollars. I remember one time he had I want to say it was like a 2x14, 2x12, 16 or 18 foot long. He had this monster board, and it was just for specifically the ridge on the house. I walked over and I cut 6 feet off of it like it wasn't nothing. And, and it took him about an hour to go, hey, who cut this board? I think he wanted to beat me with the other end of it. So I think my wife has always kind of liked, Phil working with his hands a little bit. And, I still do that to this day, even though I'm not around her family anymore. Really, they're hours away.
All these stories, I think about 2 scriptures. In Proverbs 16:9 says, in his heart a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. And then Romans 8:28, where all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purposes. And I'm just comforted that somehow it all works out, right? Somehow God's plan, even when we're like, this cannot be right, I'm off course, that at any point in time, God can bring us back to where he wants us to be. And
the older I get, the more I understand that it's just a vapor. Life is just a vapor. It's happening so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So the coaches that are listening or watching, I think that it's probably true for them too, right? Like, how you ended up as a coach. Because that's the stories we hear, right, Lori? Is like people say, I'm a construction worker, I'm a nurse, I work at we got people work at work at Bojangles or whatever. They're going like, I don't have any counseling experience. I don't have any. I'm not in the helping profession. And we say, well, God's got a plan for you, and if that's what he put in your heart to do, he'll make all of that happen. And I think that's what's so cool about the mental health coaching is we're just watching people from all walks of life, all professions, find this certification and find their calling.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. And they have an experience, even though they have no experience in counseling, they have an experience.
That's right. Good.
That they are using to be the greater person for someone else. And I can't tell you how many times they will reach back out and say, Lori, you are not going to believe I took this class and it helped me to see my own issues first. So now I'm able to in turn really help that person. My goal was to help that person to begin with, but now I've learned a lot about myself. I can really help them now. And so that to me, it's just incredible. Beautiful.
Right. I don't think we could end it any better than that. I want to say thank you for joining us today on our Coffee Cup Counseling podcast. This has been a great get to know. I've learned some things about John Ecken and Lori Shepherd. I've learned.
Sure, we got the dirt.
So, well, thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you the next time.